You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
N2K has teamed up with AWS to bring you AWS in Orbit, a groundbreaking new series that explores the impact of space technology, cloud computing, and generative AI. Hi, I'm Maria Varmazes, and in this series, I speak with industry leaders to give you a nuanced understanding of how these technologies are revolutionizing sectors like sustainability, critical infrastructure, and cybersecurity. So if you're drawn to big ideas and are curious how space and cloud technologies are impacting life here on Earth, this series is for you. Follow the T- Space Daily podcast to catch every episode of AWS in Orbit and visit space.n2k.com/AWS to stay ahead of the curve.
From dozens of spreadsheets and screenshots to fragmented tools and manual security reviews, managing the requirements for modern compliance and security programs is increasingly challenging. Vanta is the leading trust management platform that helps you centralize your efforts to establish trust and enable growth across your organization. Over 6,000 companies partner with Vanta to automate compliance, strengthen security posture, streamline security reviews, and reduce third-party risk. CyberWire Daily listeners can get $1,000 off Vanta by going to vanta.com/cyber. That's VANTA.com/cyber. Microsoft takes down the Storm 1152 cybercrime operation. GambleForce is a newly discovered threat actor. The SVR exploits a JetBrains TeamCity vulnerability. U.S. Postal Service impersonation, malicious ads associated with Zoom. An update on the cyber attack against Kyivstar. Apache issues a Struts 2 security advisory. The FCC adopts new data breach rules. In our latest Threat Vector segment, David Moulton and Palo Alto Networks' Madeline Sedgwick discuss the skills and methods necessary for understanding threat actor intent and behaviors. And the State Department's Global Engagement Center is under fire. It's Thursday, December 14th, 2023. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Microsoft has dismantled the infrastructure of Storm 1152, a cybercrime operation that sold fraudulent Outlook accounts to other hackers, including the Scattered Spider Gang. Storm 1152, a significant player in the cybercrime-as-a-service ecosystem, created about 750 million fake Microsoft accounts through its service hotmailbox.me, generating millions in illicit revenue and causing extensive damage to Microsoft. This group was labeled as the leading creator and seller of fraudulent Microsoft accounts. Storm 1152's modus operandi involve using bots to deceive Microsoft security systems, creating fake Outlook email accounts, and then selling them to cybercriminals. They also offered CAPTCHA solver services, aiding fraudsters in bypassing CAPTCHA systems and exploiting Microsoft and other online environments. Microsoft's investigation revealed that groups like Scattered Spider, involved in major ransomware attacks and data breaches, including against Okta customers and MGM Resorts, utilize Storm 1152's services. These attacks caused disruptions and damages running into hundreds of millions of dollars. On December 7th, Microsoft obtained a court order to seize Storm 1152's U.S.-based infrastructure and domains, including hotmailbox.me, and the associated CAPTCHA services. The company also identified the individuals behind this operation, all based in Vietnam. Microsoft's Digital Crimes Unit, led by April Hogan-Burney, headed up the effort, assisted by Arcos Labs, who've been tracking Storm 1152 since August of 2021. Arcos Labs CEO Kevin Goschalk noted Storm 1152's uniqueness in operating openly on the Internet, offering training and customer support for its tools. Security firm Group IB announced this morning its discovery of GambleForce, which it describes as a new threat actor working against targets in Australia, China, India, Indonesia, the Philippines, South Korea, Thailand, and Brazil. The group's name derives from its initial attention to the gambling sector, but GambleForce quickly branched out to government, retail, and travel websites. Job-seeking sites also figured among the targets. Group IB states, in almost all known attacks, GambleForce abused public-facing applications of victims by exploiting SQL injections. Among the attack software the group used were publicly available open-source tools. GambleForce seems to have been indiscriminate in its theft of accessible data, but the researchers haven't been able to determine what the threat group is doing with that data. Group IB says it's taken down GambleForce's command and control server and notified the victims it's been able to identify. The FBI, CISA, NSA, SKW, CERT Polska, and the UK's NCSC have jointly warned that Russia's SVR is exploiting a vulnerability in JetBrains TeamCity software. TeamCity is critical for software development processes like building and testing. The SVR's successful exploitation of this vulnerability could give them access to source code, signing certificates, and software deployment processes, posing a significant software supply chain threat. This operation mirrors the SVR's past tactics, including the notorious 2020 SolarWinds breach. While the current exploitation hasn't had as widespread an impact, the SVR has used it to escalate privileges, move laterally, deploy backdoors, and ensure long-term network access. Their targets are selected based on vulnerability exposure. The advisory details the SVR's cyberattack techniques, indicators of compromise, and recommended mitigations. It also reviews the SVR's history of cyber operations since 2013, highlighting their focus on gathering foreign intelligence and targeting technology companies for future operations. Fortinet researchers provide insights into the SVR's methods, including the use of graphical proton malware for persistence, a tool previously linked to other SVR activities. Researchers at Uptycs are tracking a smishing campaign that's impersonating the U.S. Postal Service in order to steal victims' personal and financial information. The text messages inform recipients that a USPS delivery requires their attention and directs them to click on a link in order to resolve the issue. The link leads to a fake U.S. Postal Service website that asks the user to enter their name, address, and billing information. The researchers have tied this campaign to over 1,000 active phishing sites. Uptycs believes the scammers are based in China and are targeting users around the world. Researchers at Malwarebytes are tracking an increase in malvertising themed around Zoom, noting that these campaigns are likely targeting victims who are into cryptocurrencies, as well as corporate users, in order to gain access to company networks. One of the campaigns is delivering a new loader dubbed Hiroshima Nukes that delivers information-stealing malware. The researchers add, threat actors have been alternating between different keywords for software downloads, such as Advanced IP Scanner or WinSCP, normally geared towards IT administrators. Ukraine's SBU has attributed the recent attack on Kyivstar, Ukraine's major mobile and internet service provider, to a Russian pseudo-hacker group working for the GRU, giving Russia plausible deniability. The group, SoInsipec, claimed on Telegram that they targeted Kyivstar for supporting Ukraine's military and government agencies. They exaggeratedly claim to have destroyed thousands of computers, servers, and all cloud storage and backup systems of Kyivstar. Although the extent was overstated, the disruption was significant. Another group, Killnet, initially claimed responsibility, but analysts from Mandiant dismissed this as unlikely, viewing it as an opportunistic claim lacking credibility. The cyberattack began Tuesday morning, with Kyivstar gradually restoring services, starting with landline voice services, although full recovery is expected to take some time. SoInteSpec has been linked to the GRU's sandworm activities. Apache has issued a security advisory for a critical flaw in the Struts 2 web application framework, which could lead to remote code execution. This vulnerability, discovered by Stephen Seeley of Source Insight, stems from defective file upload logic, allowing unauthorized path traversal and the potential uploading of malicious files to execute arbitrary code. Struts, a Java framework for building web applications, has released patches for the affected versions. Developers are strongly urged to update as there are no alternative workarounds. Although no real-world malicious exploits have been reported yet, a past security flaw in Struts was used in the 2017 Equifax breach. Recent updates indicate that the threat actors are now attempting to exploit this vulnerability, with reports of active exploitation to install web shells and establish network footholds. The Federal Communications Commission has adopted new data breach rules, expanding the definition of a breach to include inadvertent access or disclosure of customer information. The updated rules also extend to all customers' personally identifiable information held by carriers and telecommunications relay services. FCC Chair Jessica Rosenworcel emphasized the need for these rules to ensure customer information safety and cybersecurity. The decision, passed with a 3-2 vote, is likely to face opposition from Senate Republicans, particularly Senator Ted Cruz, who previously criticized the proposed changes. The 2 Republican commissioners voted against the order, expressing concerns about potential conflicts with congressional limits on agency powers. The new rule mandates carriers and providers to notify the FCC, FBI, and Secret Service within 7 days of a breach affecting 500 or more customers. For breaches involving fewer than 500 customers and deemed non-harmful, carriers can report annually. This change aligns with the FCC's increased focus on privacy under Rosenworcel, including the formation of a privacy and data protection task force. The FCC's move is part of a broader trend of enhanced federal data breach reporting requirements, alongside recent updates by the Federal Trade Commission and new SEC breach notification rules set to take effect soon. Coming up after the break, David Moulton from Palo Alto Networks speaks with Madeline Sedgwick. They discuss the skills and methods necessary for understanding threat actor intent and behaviors. Stay with us. It's that time of year to start thinking about your New Year's resolutions and what you're hoping to achieve next year. As you start setting those 2024 goals, professional certifications should be part of your plan. Starting today, N2K is offering our full catalog of certification practice tests for just $39 each. Choose from our extensive library of certification titles from leading vendors like AWS, CompTIA, Microsoft, Cisco, and more. With over 25 years of experience in exam preparation, N2K has helped hundreds of thousands of security students and professionals feel exam ready. Visit n2k.com/certify to view our practice tests and get started today. That's n2k.com/certify. And now, a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud, the cybercrime analytics leader. SpyCloud disrupts cybercrime by telling you what criminals know about your business and your customers, so you can take action to prevent ransomware, session hijacking, account takeover, and online fraud. SpyCloud constantly recaptures and analyzes new data from the criminal underground, including credentials, session cookies, and PII siphoned from malware-infected devices. With knowledge of the specific exposed data criminals have in hand from InfoStealer malware on managed and unmanaged devices, security teams can respond with a more efficient and effective process called post-infection remediation that fits seamlessly into existing incident response frameworks. Get SpyCloud's post-infection remediation guide outlining the 7 steps for preventing a malware infection from becoming a full-blown ransomware incident. Visit spycloud.com/cyberwire. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire. And we thank SpyCloud for sponsoring our show.
And now, a word from our sponsor. The Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute is currently seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Want to see for yourself? Student researchers will be presenting their capstone projects on December 13th and 15th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on JHU's Homewood campus. For more information about their projects and the MSSI program, visit isi.jhu.edu.
Top Gun's the reason why I joined the Navy. I didn't end up being a pilot, obviously. There was not a lot of belief that I was going to do very well in the military, mostly because I had done 4 years at a very art-centric environment.
Welcome to Threat Vector, a segment where Unit 42 shares unique threat intelligence insights, new threat actor TTPs, and real-world case studies. Unit 42 has a global team of threat intelligence experts, incident responders, and proactive security consultants dedicated to safeguarding our digital world. I'm your host, David Moulton, Director of Thought Leadership for Unit 42. In today's episode, I'm going to speak with Madeline Sedgwick about the types of skills and methods needed to understand threat actor intent and behaviors as part of threat hunting and how that helps with threat deterrence. Madeline is a senior cyber research engineer and threat analyst for the Cortex Expanse team at Palo Alto Networks. She's held roles in the Navy, the DoD, the Marine Corps, along with several private sector jobs. Madeline, where are you recording from today?
Jacksonville, Florida.
I remember the last time I was in Jacksonville. It's beautiful.
Oh, it is. Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So before the show, we were talking a little bit about the different types of skills that you're looking for when you're building a team. And I thought that was really fascinating. Talk to me about what types of people you're looking for when you're putting together a team.
Cybersecurity is not just about understanding how networks work and how computers process information. It's also about understanding behavior, why an adversary does what an adversary does, and what are the motivations behind that adversary's activity. If I can anticipate how the world's changing and how the geopolitical landscape is changing, then I can anticipate also potential threats on the horizon that I need to be aware of. I think there's a misconception that the higher educated, the more certifications you have as a potential cybersecurity analyst, the better you're going to be at the job. I would take the person who has the understanding of systems, who can break down a system, identify what makes a system work, what doesn't make a system work, and then also be able to pivot that understanding of a system to how human beings work.
So Madeline, tell our listeners your thoughts on how analyzing a threat actor's behavior and intent help threat hunters avoid guesswork.
So if you look at adversary behavior, you don't have to guess what infrastructure is vulnerable. I know that if I have a public-facing device, it can be exploited by an adversary using an exploit. What does that exploit use? Is it a GET request, an HTTP GET request? Is it something that gets thrown at my network to make that device do something? All of these things can contribute to identifying the behavior behind an actor that's not necessarily tied to specific vulnerabilities, because that's how we kind of pigeonhole ourselves into thinking, if I protect from the vulnerability, I'll protect my network, which is not the case.
What are some of the most helpful resources that you've found to help understand threat actor behavior and intent?
Sure. So I, day in to day out, employ a number of different capabilities. I come from an intelligence background, and we don't like to rely on one data source. Twitter is a great one-stop shop for people trying to get out information as quickly as possible. There's very talented cybersecurity analysts who get into the weeds and are subject matter experts where I'm not a subject matter expert on a particular actor and certain tactics those actors use. And then a combination of data sources, so packet capture data, and then open source information. We like to combine as many different perspectives as possible so that we can get true insight when identifying threat activity.
What's the one thing that you should remember from this conversation?
Cyber adversaries are human beings. That's why they make mistakes. Being a computer hacker, being a threat actor doesn't give you superpowers, doesn't give you like Matrix level Neo insight into the internet. They're limited to the same, I call it like the laws of internet physics, right? If I can anticipate why an adversary does what an adversary does and what are the motivations behind that adversary's activity, then I can anticipate potential threats on the horizon that I need to be aware of.
Madeline, thanks for joining me today on Threat Vector. We'll be back on the CyberWire Daily in 2 weeks. Until then, stay secure, stay vigilant. Goodbye for now.
That's Palo Alto Networks' David Moulton and Madeline Sedgwick.
Hey everybody, Rick here. Have I got a deal for you? On Tuesday, December 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be hosting the N2K Quarterly Analyst Call, which is normally reserved for our pro subscribers. But since it's the holidays, I've convinced the boss to open it up to the public. You're welcome. My guests will be my good friend Merritt Baer, the field CISO at Lacework, and Carolyn Wong, the Chief Strategy Officer at Cobalt.io. We picked the top 3 news stories from the past 90 days that will likely have the most impact to the InfoSec community in the near future, and then we will debate just why they are so important. It's going to be a blast. Register today by visiting the CyberWire, all one word, .com/analyst call, all one word. That's the CyberWire.com/analyst call. And I hope to see you there. And from the folks here at N2K, happy holidays.
And finally, the State Department's Global Engagement Center, tasked with countering propaganda from terrorists and hostile nations, is under fire, the New York Times reports. Accusations in court and Congress allege the GEC has helped social media platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and X-Twitter censor Americans, breaching the First Amendment. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and 2 conservative news outlets have sued, claiming GEC's actions are severe censorship. The GEC, founded in 2011 with a $61 million budget and 125 staff members, counters foreign disinformation, especially from Russia and China. It's now facing existential threats, including potential disbandment if its mandate expiring next year isn't renewed. James P. Rubin, the GEC's coordinator, denies the censorship allegations, emphasizing their focus on foreign disinformation. The controversy is part of a broader debate on free speech and disinformation, reaching the Supreme Court. The GEC's interactions with social media companies have been scrutinized, but there's been no evidence of coercion or influence. Despite this, the House Republicans have challenged the GEC's mandate renewal. The lawsuit from Texas claims the GEC indirectly censors through grants to organizations identifying disinformation. The Federalist and the Daily Wire, involved in the lawsuit, were tagged as high risk for disinformation by a GEC-funded project. The debate continues over whether fighting disinformation is a form of censorship, with political effectiveness outweighing evidence. In the world of tech and politics, it looks like the Global Engagement Center may be playing a high-stakes game of whack-a-mole, only this time it's not just propaganda they're dodging, but lawsuits and legislative curveballs. And that's the CyberWire. For links to all of today's stories, check out our daily briefing at thecyberwire.com. CyberWire listeners, as we near the end of the year, it's the perfect time to reflect on your company's achievements and set new goals to boost your brand across the industry. We'd love to help you achieve those goals. We've got some unique end-of-year opportunities complete with special incentives to launch 2024, so tell your marketing team to reach out. Send us a message at sales@thecyberwire.com or visit our website so we can connect about building a program to meet your goals. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. You can email us at cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K and podcasts like the CyberWire are part of the daily intelligence routine of many of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, as well as the critical security teams supporting the Fortune 500 and many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K Strategic Workforce Intelligence optimizes the value of your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your team while making your team smarter. Learn more at n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Irvin. Our mixer is Trey Hester, with original music by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producers are Jennifer Iben and Brandon Karpf. Our executive editor is Peter Kilpie, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.